The juice in sports betting, also known as the VIG, is the amount charged by a sportsbook for taking a bet. Sportsbooks use juice in their betting lines to ensure they always make money on a bet, regardless of the outcome. Now, from a sports betting point of view, the higher the cut that the sportsbook take, the more money they have to bet to profit. And this is why it's really important to understand. This video explains all you need to know about sports betting juice. Stay tuned. Most established sportsbooks don't want to have a vested interest in the outcome of a game. Rather than leaving it to chance, the sportsbook would rather keep it fairly even and profit regardless. So this is where the juice comes in. The juice in sports betting is the cut a sportsbook takes from every bet. So let's run through a basic example to illustrate this in practice. Take a standard point line spread of -110 on both sides, like on this game between the Seattle Seahawks and the Atlanta Falcons. Now let's say that two bettors both wager $110 each on the opposite two sides. No matter what the outcomes of the bets are, the sportsbook still wins. How's that? It's because a $110 bet at -110 will only net the winning bettor a $100 profit while risking $110. So, either way, the sportsbook wins $10. Now the juice on most football point spreads will be -110 on both sides, but it can still vary. So let's say the sportsbook is taking more bets on Atlanta, but isn't quite ready to move the spread from -1 to -1.5 just yet. They might adjust the juice to -120 on Atlanta and even money on Seattle. Now different sportsbooks will take different cuts depending on what you're betting on. While a normal NFL point spread should be -110 on both sides, for example, a player prop might be -120 on both sides. And that's why the house has such an advantage. As you can imagine, after thousands of bets over the year, their profits really start to add up. Okay, so now we understand what the juice is, let's look at how we can start calculating it. First, you should know that every set of odds in sports betting is just the probability of all the outcomes offered. An even money bet, like a coin flip, is 50% on each side, meaning that the implied probability of the event is 100%. However, the probability when betting on sports will be greater than 100% because the sportsbook still needs its cut. Now you can calculate the juice by adding up the implied probabilities of each side and then subtracting from 100. To calculate the implied probabilities, use this formula for anything with a minus sign in the front of it, but just drop the negative sign. And for anything with a plus sign, use this formula to get the implied probability. Now the most common juice is -110 on two football point spreads. So using the first formula, we get 110, the point spread odds, divided by 110, again the point spread odds, plus 100, all times by 100%, which equals 52.4%. That means you need to win that bet 52.4% of the time to break even in the long run. And so, knowing that to calculate the juice by adding up the implied probabilities of each side, and then subtracting from 100, we have the juice equals 52.4%, which we've just calculated, plus 52.4% because it's still -110 on the other side of the line. Adding these together, we get 104.8%, minus 100% gives us a juice of 4.8%. So therefore, the sportsbooks have a 4.8% hold on that game altogether before it even begins. But this brings up an interesting question. Do sportsbooks adjust the juice in their lines? And if so, when do they do it? Well, to start, you should know that sportsbooks do actually adjust the juice. It can be a precursor to changing the actual line of a game. For example, if the money on a line is starting to get a little dicey for a sportsbook, changing the juice can be an easy way to ensure that they bring home more of a profit without changing the entire line just yet. As a result, changing the juice is a signal that the line could soon change. If a large wager comes in but isn't quite large enough to totally change the line, then the sportsbook can simply adjust the juice. Increasing the juice on one side, even just by a few percentage points, will do two things. First, it will entice people to bet a certain way, just like a line change. And second, an increase in juice will always net the sportsbook a higher profit. Again, even if it's just a small amount, every dollar matters. Now, being aware of the juice under these scenarios can help you save or net more money from your bets. And juice will also change as the odds change for something to happen. Now obviously the chances of an NFL game going into overtime if the score is 25-0 at 2-minute warning in the fourth quarter are very slim. So, the sportsbook's juice on the bet will be very high for it to avoid overtime, and very low for it to go into overtime. So to conclude this video, let's explain the importance of finding reduced juice. If you can find a sportsbook that's dealing -105 on both sides of a point spread, it's a huge advantage for you as the sports bettor. Let's say you bet on the point spread in 135 NFL games in a single season, and went 75 for 60, which is just over a 55% win rate. Now on the face of it, that's an unbelievably good NFL betting season. But let's take a closer look at the ROI and profit and loss at different levels of juice if you bet $100 per game over those 135 games. As you can see, betting on -115 lines generates less than 50% of the ROI and subsequent profits compared to the -105 lines. So the bottom line is that if you're using a book that offers -115 or -120 for NFL point spreads, then you must find a new sportsbook immediately. And that brings us to the end of this video. Understanding the basics of juice are essential to becoming an effective sports bettor. It can change what side you want to bet on, and it can also be a signal that an entire line shift is coming. If you enjoyed this video, make sure you hit the like button and subscribe for more videos like this. And you can find more information about sports betting over at our website at ghostbettingtips.com. The link is in the description below. And thanks for watching.